I have joining us from our Maiduguri studio is the chairman of the Senate Committee on the Army, Senator Ali Ndume. Thank you so much, Senator, for joining us tonight. I appreciate your time tonight. I think we should begin the conversation by asking you. I know you and we have had discussions on the security situation in the country, but tonight, the event of the past few days probably would have taught us some lessons and given us some insight into where we are, where we're coming from, and where we are headed. From your own mind, the arrest, the release of some of these kidnapped victims, and the Chibok schoolgirl that was rescued by the military, and the recent military operations that we have seen. They said that they've decimated some of their hideouts. What lesson do you think, as a senator who is superintending or who has an oversight on the army, what lesson do you think as a nation that we have been able to get out of these events of the past days?
Well, the first one, which is the release of the Kaduna train attack victims, is a natural one based on the conditions given by the kidnappers, and I believe they have been settled, and that's why they released those families. As for the Chibok girl, that is also a good development. And as for the action taken by the army, that is an action expected of them. But that goes to show in total that if the army has the number, the equipment, the modern equipment that they require, they can tackle this problem within the shortest possible time. I will say it again. The purpose of government is security and welfare of its citizens. The Nigerian army don't have the number. They don't have the equipment. They don't have the technology that is required to solve or handle these challenges that we have. The earlier we prioritize this seriously and even declare some kind of state of emergency in the area of security and welfare of Nigerian citizens, the better for us, because that is what the government is all about. The Constitution is very clear. It says that the purpose of government is security and welfare of its citizens. The earlier the government and the people of Nigeria and in all the arms of government concentrate on making sure that our country is secured and our citizens' welfare is taken care of, the better for us.
Now, let's go to specifics now. I just wanted an overview first and foremost. Now, to the specifics. The link of terrorism, because in the last over 15 years now, those who are in the academic or those who have been following the events of terrorism in Nigeria might want to put their finger on what happened in Maiduguri some years back and say, okay, maybe that was the recent origin of the modern day terrorism in Nigeria. Now, for what we saw in Ondo State and the arrests that have been made, and the details, or the little details that we have in respect of that attack, what do you think went wrong? Where is the linkage between the northeast region of the country and the southern region of the country? What do you think must have happened?
Well, Sean, let me also say again that I don't like discussing events or people. I prefer discussing ideas. I said the Nigerian army that I know is up to the task if they are given what they need. And then if they are given what they need, they should be given a timeline. The issue of this historical or academic thing is not really my business. And it's not something that I want to get into. I oversight the military, and that's why you invited me, particularly the army. I know what they can do, I have seen it, and I know what they need, and I know what they have on ground. The Nigerian army is not well equipped. They don't have the number. We still have in this challenge less than 200,000 army put together, and they are not well funded. You can imagine last month it was their salaries were even paid lately. In fact, their capital, which is very small compared to the Nigerian budget, was only released. Only 50% of it was released just I think this month. With a situation like this, I don't think we are serious. And I think we need to be serious because the situation is getting out of hand. Every day you hear of bandits moving freely, attacking villages, kidnapping and destroying. In the northeast, well, we are better off now than before. And as you know now, I'm speaking to you from Maiduguri, and I left my house, which is about maybe 5-10 kilometers from here, to be in your studio. That means Maiduguri is, in fact, I can say is safer than Abuja. I've said it before. The only thing is that Maiduguri is enclosed. It's just like the rat hole. Once you are in the hole, you are safe. But you can't go outside Maiduguri, for example, around this time, which is after 8 o'clock. And so what I'm thinking, I'm not just really interested about I'm not interested in lamenting. All I'm saying, and using this medium, coming here to say that the government should be serious. The government should put in everything that they got in order to make sure that Nigeria is secured internally. As it is now, most of the states, except yesterday I was trying to count with my friend which state in the north is relatively safe. And where they don't have these serious issues of kidnappers. And you can count, out of the 19 states in the north, you can only count maybe 2 or 3 states that you can say are relatively safe. And the government should make the country safe. That is the purpose of government. They should put everything they have. We should put everything that we have to make sure that our country is secured internally.
Senator, I know that you're a man who wants to talk about what you want to talk about. But then, you see, the conversation where we invited you for is about the security of Nigeria, and as it relates to the military, the army, for example, that you oversee, they have oversight function or role over. And the reason why I asked that question, you are saying that Maiduguri is relatively safe, and that used to be, or is, the theater of the terrorist war by the military on the terrorists. Now, we've seen terrorists attack in other parts of the country. And so that's why I was asking, we hear things like they have been highly bombarded and being chased away from the northeast, and that is the reason why we're seeing them moving southward. And that's why I was asking you, but look, give us an idea, where do you think the gap really is in this whole game?
Well, I didn't hear the last part, but the gap is in the number and the availability of equipment. If the Nigerian Army, the Nigerian Air Force, SSS, and all that have what it takes, then if you as you rightly said, maybe the terrorists are finding it very difficult to operate in the northeast, are now moving to particularly north central. But those that are operating in north central, based on the outcome of the arrest that they made on those that attacked the church in Owo, and discovered that most of them are coming from a particular state in the north central. And they call themselves the Ansar. That is another new sect of terrorist cell that is developing in the north central and spreading to northwest, especially Kaduna State. the Nigerian government or we Nigerians are aware of this since the time we had the split in the terrorists or the insurgents camp, where we have the ISWAP and then the Boko Haram that was led by Shekarau, and then now we have another group called Ansar operating in the North Central, but I don't know whether they have identified the leadership of that group, and they are the ones that are terrorizing the people of Northwest and North Central. The government, as I said, if they have what it takes, and the Nigerian Army, Air Force, and other security agencies, if they had the number, they can deploy people to those areas. They can deploy the technology they have to those areas. They can deploy the equipment they have to those areas. But we still don't have enough of those equipments, especially attack helicopters from the air, and we don't have drones enough that will do surveillance. We don't have the number of the foot soldiers that will be on ground. We don't have the number of police. We don't have the number of intelligence officers, and even with that, even if you have, they don't have the necessary equipment to carry out surveillance and all that. The issue is that we don't have what it takes to confront these people. That's why you can imagine people will be moving on motorcycle, and attacking villages and getting away with it, operating on motorcycles. Not that they have vehicles, or especially those that are operating in those areas, Northwest and North Central. My point still stands on one thing. Give the Nigerian Army and security agencies what they need, and they will be able to address this. Forget about most of this spending on trivialities, and you can see that people are just taking money, stealing money left, right, and center, and then the country is burning. People are not secured, and nothing is being done, decisively about these things.
Now, Senator, what would you prescribe? You talked about the numbers of the troops. What number would you prescribe for a nation of 200 million when you say that we do not have enough of the soldiers? How many soldiers do you imagine should be in the Nigerian Armed Forces?
Well, for the Nigerian Armed Forces, if you look at it, it's not that the number is grossly inadequate. But because the Nigerian Army is engaged in internal, operations, which is not their really business, if we were to have the army that we need to just stand by and then defend the territorial integrity of the nation, that's their major constitutional role, I'm looking at a figure of 500 to 1 million will be okay. As for the police, because most of these things, this job that you are calling about army is not actually their job. Internal security is not the business of the Nigerian Army, Air Force, and all that. It is only when you have in a situation, a severe situation, that you call in the army to support the police. We need to strengthen the police. We need to increase the number of police. If we, as it is now, our total number of police is not up to 400,000. And we have a population of over 200 million. If you do the calculation, it means that we have one police to about 25,000 or more of Nigerian, which is grossly inadequate. The Nigerian police, especially the mobile force, will need to be properly equipped. The number have to be increased. They need to be trained adequately. In those days, the mobile police, when you see them, you know that wherever problem we have in that area will be solved within a day or two, once the mobile police move in. But it's a different ball game together. We are not even talking, you have not been talking about police now. You have not been talking about some other security agencies that will complement the activities like civil defense and others. So we need to have more civil police. We need to have more police in this country. I'm looking at the number of 1 million, 1 to 2 million for a country like ours. And the thing is, we have the youths. We have thousands of our youth, millions of our youth out there unemployed. Anytime the Nigerian army, the Nigerian police open its portal for recruitment, you will see that they will have more than 100 times the number that they want to recruit. And we have a problem at hand. Why don't you recruit more police, recruit more security agencies, and equip them properly in this modern time that you can easily use technology to do so many things? We find it easy to bug people's telephone, and you don't bug the bandit telephone. They call people on the phone, and nobody will tell you where they are. I mean, these things, it doesn't add up. And every time, you hear people will just say they condemn this and it is only historical. Every day, even yesterday in my local government, one of my relatives went to the farm and he was shot. He's now in the hospital. Last week, one of them was killed in the farms, and we are counting numbers. But yet, Nigerians are so resilient, they still go there to their farms. And as I said, for Borno State, we thank God, particularly in Maiduguri and other local government headquarters, you find people there and they're struggling with life. But the government is not doing enough in area of security and welfare of its citizens, which is why the government is there.
Okay, so you've talked about the numbers and what needs to be done. But when you say enough is not being done, then we need to narrow it down to who should be taking responsibility within the rank and file of government and the entire architectural frame of government. When you say government is not doing enough, who should we be questioning? Who should we hold accountable? Whose failure has it been over the last few years?
I said in the last program that the president is the commander-in-chief. The buck stops at his table. The president is responsible for not only the security and welfare of its citizens, but everything that happens within his tenure as a Nigerian government. President Muhammad Buhari is responsible for that. And I think he understands that. So it is not, what I'm not comfortable with, I said it before, is for the president to be directing. He is not a director-in-chief. He is commander-in-chief. The president should take up and do what it requires of him as the commander-in-chief. And as I said, for him as a president, it is him that God will ask. For me as a senator in Southern Borno, it is me that God will ask whether I have represented or said or talked on behalf of people, or I have executed my mandate as their representative in the National Assembly. So it is not like you are looking for somebody who is to do that. It is the president. The president can, now, after even this program, he can appoint anybody to do so thing. He can direct them to do so. But he is the commander-in-chief. He is the commander-in-chief. So he is the one that is responsible. The service chiefs are appointed by him at his pleasure and then approved by the National Assembly.
Since the heat and the pressure from the National Assembly, which brought up the issue of the ultimatum and the threat of impeachment, has there been any kind of improvement or any kind of change or reaction from the president's desk or table that you think is reasonable enough from your own point of view?
Well, I've been in Maiduguri all this time, and I heard about this. You know, this issue of even talking about going further or reaching out for impeachment, I really don't want to talk about it, because I've said it. I've seen a video of my presentation in the National Assembly a year or two ago, where I said, look, if somebody is not doing what he's supposed to be doing, if he's not doing what he's doing, we have the constitutional right to ask the question and then ask for more action, get more results. Otherwise, we take appropriate action as prescribed in the Constitution. Talking about impeachment at this time now and all that, I don't think That is the issue. The issue is to solve the problem of security, whether...
So the question I'm asking, Senator, is whether or not the heat that was coming from the National Assembly has done any work at all. I mean, whether or not we've seen any kind of improvement in the security framework of the nation.
What I see, as I told you, I oversight the military. They are really, really trying their best under the circumstances they find themselves. Very difficult one. And there are people that don't complain. But once they have what they need, they will be able to do it. But how can they perform when, for example, you have a 17 trillion budget and the capital allocated to defense or security agencies is insignificant, yet you expect performance? It doesn't add up. The Nigerian Army budget, which I know, is less than 30 billion. And even that, half of it was, I think it was only half of it that was released to them, and that was only 2 weeks ago. And you know what capital means? That is the money they are supposed to use to buy ammunition and all that. And we just have 15 billion. And you have security challenges everywhere. I mean, are we serious? No. Ukraine, I mean, Russia and Ukraine are at war. You never hear them talking about the money they spend. They only, talk about what they have achieved or the losses they have incurred. And then they try to take actions appropriately. The government should, as I said, if necessary, declare security and welfare of its citizens as a state of emergency. Now, leave everything, concentrate on making sure that Nigeria is secured and Nigerian citizens' welfare is taken care of.
Now, Senator, when you're talking about money, so if you put the figures together, at least 4 trillion naira has been spent in the last 5 years on defense, and well over 8 trillion spent in the last 7 years. Before 2015, or when the government of the day came into power, there was a big question mark on the money spent in the defense sector and whether or not those monies that were voted went into wrong hands or individual pockets. Is there anything of sort happening right now?
Well, that I cannot know. That I cannot know. But I ask you a question, Sheung. If your house is on fire and you have to put off that fire, do you care about the quantity of water that you use to put up that fire? I don't think so. So if you say that about 8 or 4 trillion, I don't know, I can't remember the figure you're talking about, have gone into defense.
Yeah, about 8 trillion has gone into defense spending in 7 years, and about over 4 trillion spent on defense in 5 years. So the question is that, and then we're still battling it, and you said there is not enough funds. How much more do you think we should be spending? At least what percentage of our budget should go into defense yearly?
What the Nigerian Army needs is not the money even. What they need is to have the equipment and what it takes for them to work. And then, of course, they must be paid. And then when they are on duty, in call of duty, that is duty allowance, that will increase because they are out there. You can't send somebody out without. So it's not like asking, give me this, and then I solve the problem.
No,
that takes me back.
Senator, sorry, what I was actually asking is whether or not the monies that have been voted over the last few years have been properly utilized. If we are not going to find ourselves in the same situation where this government described pre-2015, that the monies meant for the military had gone into wrong or private hands.
Well, that I cannot say, Sheung. And I want, again, us to, shift from this kind of your discussion. What I would prefer is to say, look, I told you that this year, the budget of Nigeria is 17.1 trillion. That of the army, how much allocation is going to the army for capital, find that is insignificant. But a significant amount of money is being spent on their recurrent or overhead expenditure. But then go and then check the overhead expenditure of Nigeria in the 2022 budget. It's over 5 trillion. And people are working from home. People are not asking about those figures. You are asking about the figures spent on people that have put their life online. For me, even if we are to spend this year 10 trillion and we will be secured, I'm sure if you put that into vote, many Nigerians will support it. Because that's 17 trillion. And the army is getting only 30, for me, less than 30 billion as their capital. As far as I'm concerned, under this circumstance, all the resources, or more than half of the resources, should go into defense. And then when we are safe, then you can go back in your comfort and say, now that we are safe, this money that we have spent, what did you do with it? You can ask for the record, do some audit, ask questions. But as at now, what I'm concerned about, and what most Nigerians are concerned about, is for Nigeria to be safe, and Nigerians to be safe, and their welfare to be taken care of. So let's talk about what do we need to do after that. As I said, if you take a calculation of the overhead of the Nigerian army and the Nigerian army that are operating in almost all the states in the federation, their number, and then their duty allowance, the fueling, the equipment, medication, logistics, and all that. And then look at the situation we find ourselves. I don't like the idea of talking about what we spend when we're in trouble. Let's spend all the money and let's have peace.
Senator Ndume, Chairman, Senate Committee on the Army, thank you so much indeed for the insight that you've shared with us tonight. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.